The second salient aspect of the room was the wintry temperature, caused by the January night air intruding through open French doors. Axel was halfway across the room, thinking to close the doors, when a single word stopped him. "Don't." Mrs. Stoneleigh remained so still in the shadows beside the hearth, Axel hadn't detected her presence. She rose with a rustle of skirts and stepped from the shadows. "If we lay my husband out in here, the room should remain unheated. Thank you for heeding my summons, Mr. Belmont."
"Mrs. Stoneleigh."
Axel took her cold hand, bowed over it, and examined her as closely as manners and firelight would allow. She was tallish for a woman, though still a half-foot shorter than Axel's own 6 feet and several inches. Abigail Stoneleigh was also pretty, in a quiet, green-eyed, dark-haired way. Because she had been, another man's wife, Axel's assessment of her beauty had never gone further, though if she weren't so perpetually aloof, if she ever once smiled, she might even be beautiful. Not that he'd care, one way or the other. She had to be frozen to the bone. "If I recall your note," Axel said, "you begged the favour of my presence at my earliest convenience. Hardly a summons, madam." Her penmanship had been elegant, though the groom who'd delivered the note had nearly babbled the news of Stoneleigh's death. Axel led her over to the hearth, where a dying fire was losing the battle with winter's chill. "I should warn you, Mrs. Stoneleigh, I am here in the capacity of magistrate, as well as neighbour."
"To come at this hour was still considerate of you."
The woman's spouse was crumpled over the desk, not 15 feet away. Her only defence against the frigid air was a plain brown wool shawl, and she was offering pleasantries. Everybody coped with death differently. Caroline's passing had taught Axel that. He took off his jacket and draped it around Mrs. Stoneleigh's shoulders. "Why don't we repair to the family parlour? I've asked Shreve to bring the tea-tray there." Mrs. Stoneleigh's gaze swung away, to the darkness beyond the French doors.
The Colonel would not want to be alone."
Wherever Stoneleigh's soul had gone, the life had departed from his mortal remains. Wanting or not wanting to be alone no longer came into it. Axel knew better than to argue reason at such a time, though. "Nothing in this room, such as a dead body, for example, can be moved until I've looked the situation over more closely, Mrs. Stoneleigh. I would prefer privacy to do that."
"You may have your privacy, but I'll send Ambers to stay here thereafter. I'll await you in the parlour."
As imperious as a bloody queen, a pale bloody queen. "You don't want Shreve with the Colonel, or perhaps the Colonel's valet?"
"Mr. Spellman is on holiday, visiting family in Hampshire. Ambers will do. Shreve is overwrought."
While the lady was glacially calm. She also bore the faint fragrance of attar of roses, which realization had Axel longing for his glass house all over again. He escorted her to the door, then turned his attention to the question of how a man reasonably well liked, in good health, with wealth aplenty, and no apparent vices, had managed to get a bullet through his heart at close range in his very own home. Abigail waited until the door latch clicked shut before drawing Axel Belmont's wool coat more closely around her. His garment smelled good, of fresh flowers and the green growing scent of a conservatory, and the coat was blessedly warm from the heat of his big body. Mr. Belmont and Gregory had always been on noddingly cordial terms, so over the years Abby had had some opportunity to observe her neighbour. The magistrate was pleasant to observe, tall, blond, and good-looking, in the way of a man who likes to be out of doors. He was considered quite the catch, having both family and personal wealth, and he was always in demand as an escort or partner at the local assemblies. To his credit, he was devoted to his sons, Dayton and Philip, and he was a quiet neighbour. He'd come in response to Abby's note, in the middle of a frigid, snowy night, too. From Abby's perspective, his list of positive traits ended there.